Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton, where it's a battle for first place in the West and, of course, a battle for Alberta pride. Stampeders, Eskimos on Adidas. Friday Night Football. Hey, folks, how are you? Welcome to the show. James Duthie along with my mini panel today. Matt Dunnigan and Chris Schultz. Eric Tillman is having that chia pet hair of his cropped. Actually, he's under the weather. Eric, get better. We'll have you back next week. And tonight it's episode 2 of Cops, or Make That Cop. The first episode wasn't very good, and you know the Eskimos defense has rewritten the theme song. Hey Troy, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when we come for you? What is he gonna do, Chris Schultz?
That is the question. I mean, you can look at all facets of this football game, but it does come down to Troy Kopp and his ability to make plays and avoid mistakes. To his advantage, this is his second game as a starter, so the speed of the game will not be new to him. The break from the defensive backs, closing on those receivers, he'll be able to judge that a little bit better. Plus, he's going to have a week of film to look at, and he'll have looked at all those mistakes every time. He's going to know when to drill the football, when to float the football. His mechanics will be better. It's very difficult to play quarterback when you're under duress, when you're about to get hit. It's something you're not born with. It's something that takes time. We'll find out tonight whether the time Troy Kopp has is going to produce a better football game, James.
The other quarterback, Nealon Green, the Eskimos have been on a roll since he got back. 6 wins. What are you laughing about?
Schultz.
Oh, no.
6 wins in their last 7 games. He's just funny all the time.
Laughing about your singing, too, dude.
Yeah, I won't do that anymore.
Okay.
6 wins in 7 games since Nealon Green came back. But the last couple of games, we haven't seen the Nealon Green that we're used to, more staying in the pocket and such. Why is that, and do they change it tonight?
Well, 2 weeks ago, James, they ran a 7 offensive lineman formation with 3 wide receivers, really threw Nealon off his game. And then last week, they noticed that Nealon Green was doing something fundamentally wrong. He wasn't pushing back from the center quick enough and getting enough separation. Thus, his lanes were very cloudy. He couldn't see over the offensive lineman. He was getting pressured, felt like he was throwing off his heels all the time. So Don Matthews sees this. They correct it, work on it hard this week. I expect Nealon Green to get it back away from the center quicker, which will create more vision for him, and he should be able to see his receivers more readily down the football field, which should make a difference with this offense, and hopefully they'll get him back on track. They'll need it against the Calgary Stampeders tonight.
It is very rare that one team sweeps these back-to-back games that happen on Labor Day week. It's especially rare when one team wins in the other team's field. That's what the Eskimos did on Labor Day, so they have the advantage heading into Game 2 at home at Commonwealth with that huge crowd. We are ready for kickoff.
Oh, give me a break.
Oh, dear.
See ya, Duthie.
That's no surprise. The votes in here are unanimous every week for that.
He's got no skills.
Kickoff coming up.
Hey! Hey!
What?
You know that fair catch rule they have in American football?
Yeah, man, what about it?
Doesn't work here.
Lordy, lordy, lordy. Woo, help that boy.
Kelvin Anderson is steamed. He runs for a living, and on Monday, he hardly had a chance. Alondra Johnson has been fuming since Labor Day. No one can convince him the better team won.
Edmonton's defense led by 2 converted strong safeties. Terry Ray eliminates the ground attack. Singor Mobley is a playmaker who can ground any air attack in the game. They will lead this D into battle tonight.
It's close to a sellout at Commonwealth tonight, 98 hours after the final gun in Calgary. We are ready for the rematch between Calgary and Edmonton, Canada's fiercest football rivals. It's a battle for first, and it doesn't get much better than this. Nice night, too. Right now at 14 degrees Celsius. The breeze at 24 could be a factor before we're done.
Wally Bueno said in the press conference yesterday that winning games will often camouflage mistakes. After going undefeated in their first 7 games, they are now trying to snap a 2-game losing streak, and those mistakes are starting to surface.
And the Don is back. Don Matthews has his Eskimos fighting to be #1 again. After the worst season in his 16 years as a head coach, Matthews has the Eskimos poised and ready to be first in the West. Interesting times in Calgary on Labor Day, Monday afternoon. Matthews and the Eskimos won. Kelvin Anderson is still steamed about not getting the football.
Well, it's the first time that Wally Bueno has really had to deal with players speaking out in the media. And Kelvin Anderson, after the game, said very simply, give me the ball. Had just 6 carries in the entire game on Monday.
Yeah, so there's been a meeting between coach and running back. Here's what to watch for. Give Kelvin the ball is what we say.
Absolutely. If you're a Calgary fan, expect Calvin Anderson to see the football a whole lot more. For the Edmonton Eskimos, they have to air it out. Nealon Green, just 117 yards passing, only completed 10 passes in the game. He's going to have to throw the ball down the field, and fatigue always a factor in this game. Back-to-back games, 98 hours apart.
Yeah.
Which team can keep it going for 60 minutes tonight?
You got to shake it off and play another football game.
Well, it's tough just to do it with a week rest and a week preparation, but to do it in 98 hours, right, that makes it very, very difficult.
Are we ready for the kickoff? Mark McLaughlin has it teed up on the 35-yard line. And the Eskimos have 2 deep to begin the game. Mobley and Ashley. Back near the 10-yard line, and the rematch is underway. As Donnie Ashley bobbles it at the 20, has it now. Not a bad return considering how he started, and he's out across the 30, 11 yards on his return. Nealon Green looks to rebound from an off day in Calgary where he completed just 10 passes.
Well, he's trying to break up fights already in this game here, John, and he doesn't want to get involved in those fights. Obviously, emotions running high for both these teams anytime they play each other, but Calgary Stampeders are very upset about the game they put forth on Monday, on Labor Day, and they came out fighting on that opening kickoff.
Yeah, and it won't be the last time these two butt heads on the turf here at Commonwealth. These two teams do not like each other very much. And we're still waiting for signals from the officials as to what happened and what they're going to call here. It'll be a rough play. And it may not mean very much at all. It's going both ways.
All-out brawl
against
both teams. We'll leave the ball right here.
And
major foul, unnecessary roughness, 38 Edmonton. Major foul, unnecessary roughness, number 9 Calgary. Major foul, unnecessary roughness, 33 Calgary. First down.
so 2-1 for the Stampeders, and the Eskimos move up to the 41-yard line. Shotgun. Mark Nora had a great game last week, and he starts off with a perfect run here. Nealon Green has terrific targets with Hervey, McCorvey, and Terry Vaughn. And he also has running back Mark Nora, who averaged 8.5 yards a carry on Monday. Up front, the only new face is Rick Cunningham, who started the year with the Montreal Alouettes. 16 yards for Nora. And the Eskimos get off to a solid start now inside the Calgary 50. This time the fake to Nora. Green is on his way. And another Eskimo first down. Alondra Johnson there to make the tackle.
And he will lead the front 7. Alondra Johnson was very outspoken after the game on Monday. He feels that they need to play better, even though this defense did have a fairly good game on Monday against Calgary. In the secondary, Greg Frere's 5 interceptions on the season. Jack Kellogg playing with a sore hamstring. We'll watch him as this game progresses.
Alondra Johnson, always a tense competitor, 10 years in the league, and they have been 10 outstanding years. He had a few words to say about the Labor Day Classic. He didn't think the outcome was fair at all. He thought the Stampeders obviously should have won the game, and they had their chances in spite of giving up the ball so many times. 6 turnovers.
Well, that's exactly what Alondra Johnson said, was that the better team did not win on Monday.
Yeah.
Well, anytime you win, you're the better team on that day. Today's another day.
We'll follow the Eskimo drive. There's an injury timeout at Commonwealth. Injury timeout at Commonwealth. We're just underway. The Calgary Stampeders' Eric Sutton is being tended to by the medical staffs of both teams.
Well, they're being very careful with Eric Sutton. He ran into his own player, Alondra Johnson. Alondra Johnson came from a long way away and was running full speed. There's Johnson there. Here's Sutton here. Full speed and runs into each other. Eric Sutton goes down right away, and they've been being very careful, checking out his neck and back area while he lies on that field. And you see how his head snapped back a little bit. So they'll take every precaution necessary. Eric Sutton, the extra defensive back for the Calgary Stampeders, and a very important part to their defense, because when the Edmonton Eskimos go into 5 receiver packs, that's when he has to come into the football game.
So the ambulance has now moved up beside the injured Calgary Stampeder. And there's not a whole bunch we can tell you about what's going on down there, except that he did actually run into his playing partner, or at least fellow teammate Alondra Johnson, as they were both going after Nealon Green.
The Edmonton staff there as well, and obviously concerned Wally Buono, first and foremost for the player and his health and his safety, and second of all, how he's going to make adjustments and replace Eric Sutton in the lineup.
Well, obviously they're going to get him off the field as carefully as they possibly can, so adjustments will be made by the Calgary Stampeders.
Of course, both teams obviously very concerned when they see a player go down like that, and medical staff trying to make sure they mobilize the player and take every precaution necessary, and no one likes to see that. So we'll hope the best, and we'll try and update everyone as soon as we can on exactly what happened to Eric Sutton.
It's early in the opening quarter on Adidas Friday Night Football, and we'll take another brief timeout. We're back at Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton. A frightening start to the rematch between the Calgary Stampeders and the Edmonton Eskimos, as halfback Eric Sutton is still down on the field after a collision with his teammate Alondra Johnson, while both were trying to make the tackle. And there's not very much we can report on this story, except that all the medical staff from both teams, plus the ambulance staff and emergency services, are taking care that Sutton does not get moved too quickly and cause more problem and a more severe injury.
Yeah.
It does sort of look like it's a problem in the neck area from one replay that we did see. So,
well, in the way they're trying to brace Eric Sutton and make sure they don't move him too much to get him on that stretcher and get him checked out in the hospital. And of course, Alondra Johnson, no one feels worse than Alondra Johnson right now. Of course, he didn't mean to hit his own player. He was trying to make the tackle on Nealon Green and went over top and hit Eric Sutton in a collision. It reminds you of the violence of the game of football. It's just play away always of being in a situation like that, and we hope the best for Eric Sutton.
Hugh Campbell, the president of the Eskimos, is giving Wally Buono some information that he obviously obtained by being down there at the scene of the situation. He ran across the field just a second or two ago after talking to some medical advisors down there, and he'd obviously have a good working knowledge of the Eskimo medical staff and the team of doctors. So he's likely informed Wally of what he can tell about the situation as it stands right now.
And the way Hugh Campbell went over there and he was wiggling his fingers talking to Wally Buono, and that's what they'll check in any neck or back injury. They'll make sure you have feeling in your hands and your feet and make you wiggle your fingers, make you wiggle your toes, see if you can feel everything from your toes all the way up to the injured area. And we can only hope that everything will be okay for Eric Sutton.
We'll take another brief timeout at Commonwealth Stadium and get back in just a moment. Great concern on every face at Commonwealth Stadium as the medical staff attends to Stampeder halfback Eric Sutton.
Most concerned, of course, is Alondra Johnson. He ran into him, but it doesn't matter how much you hate the other team. No one likes to see this, and I've been in that situation, and everybody out there just hopes for the best for Eric Sutton, and we'll update everyone as soon as we can, as soon as we hear any information on how he's doing right now. But everybody in this stadium concerned for Eric Sutton right now, and it's the reality of the game of football, unfortunately.
Yeah, and obviously he's going to be taken directly to hospital as soon as they can secure him and make him as comfortable as possible without creating any further injury to what has happened to him at this point. But concern on every face, and that's an understatement, obviously.
Now, it's difficult for the players. You know, you're such an emotional high getting in the game, and it's tough to try and fight through it. And they're just finally getting him on the stretcher now and getting him to check him out in the hospital. Take some x-rays, and like we say, we'll update everyone as soon as we know the condition of Eric Sutton at this point.
Eric Sutton began his CFL career as a member of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, now in his 4th season out of San Diego State.
Has had a good season, a quiet but very good season, and defensive back, you always want it to be quiet, and he has played very well as the 5th defensive back for the Calgary Stampeders, and hopefully we'll see him back in the lineup before this year's over. But they'll check him out, take all the precautions, and we'll report back as soon as we know.
Back to the game where the Eskimos have started well. And a nice catch by Terry Vaughn for 5 yards. Eskimos have marched the ball all the way inside the 30-yard line. Greg Freres made the tackle there.
Well, that's will be one of the adjustments that the Calgary Stampeders will have to make now with Eric Sutton out of the lineup. Greg Freres will move around a little bit, possibly become the 5th defensive back and be in one-on-one coverage with Terry Vaughn a little bit tonight. And they'll put Albie Henry in the game as the extra safety.
Green looks to put it up for a moment, and then he's surrounded by Stampeders on 2nd and 5. And Joe Fleming was the first Stampeder there.
Interesting conversation with Joe Fleming before the game about Monday's game and Labor Day against the Edmonton Eskimos, and just felt that as well as they played defensively, there were a lot of things they could have done a lot better. And he's talking mostly about the running of Mark Nora, who rushed for over 145 yards. He said, got all the yardage on a couple of plays, and it was mistakes that we made that opened up holes, mistakes they have to eliminate here tonight.
So the Stampeders got to Nealon Green, but they got there too quickly. They were offside. So the Eskimos come up with a first down regardless. Just inside the 25. A good opening drive for Nealon Green. This time he decides to run more quickly, and with super speed, he's got that touchdown. So that gets them cheering at Commonwealth. A solid drive by the Eskimos, who didn't have much offensive power last week.
Well, all their offense on Monday was Mark Nora, and a lot of criticism this week was headed in the direction of Nealon Green, partly from the lack of passing success he had on Monday, because he only threw for 117 yards, but also because they don't feel like Nealon Green is running like he used to, and it looks like in this game he is looking to run the football.
Make it 7-0 for the hometown Eskimos. And it's almost a full house to cheer Nealon Green into the Stampeder end zone.
Nealon Green is looking to run the football, and he gets some help from his center, Leo Groenwagen, on Alondra Johnson. Watch the block. The Groenwagen will throw. As he gets out, comes down on number 51, turns him to the outside, right there in the middle of your screen. A little bit of holding on the back, pushes him to the outside, gets away with it, and that opens a hole for Nealon Green. Good move right there on Greg Freres, and he's in the end zone.
Nice drive for Green and the Eskimos. Mark Nora had the first offensive play to get things rolling for Edmonton, and Green took them the rest of the way with some sharp passing and a 24-yard touchdown run. This is Marvin Coleman. Had a great week last Monday against Edmonton at Commonwealth at McMahon Stadium. 73 on the kickoff, 23 on the return. Here's Ken Chillibeck.
Thank you very much, John. Eric Sutton, obviously a tough situation here on the sidelines. A few moments ago, I talked to Dr. David Reed, the doctor with the Edmonton Eskimos. He says that it is a neck injury, that Eric was reporting some numbness in his legs, and they've taken, obviously, him to hospital for some examination. But that's the only information we have for you right now on Eric Sutton. Guys, back to you.
And back for Calgary first down. First of the evening for the Stampeders. There was early movement down there. Kelvin Anderson got the ball. But the play was whistled down. Procedure called against the Stampeders. No doubt about that. Troy Kopp has a few things running through his mind.
Illegal procedure. Calgary number 50. Still first down.
Troy Kopp's first start for the Stampeders, less than memorable. The receivers are not a problem with Moore, Pitts, Danielson, and Cummings as starters. The running game relies on Kelvin Anderson up front. Rocco Romano and his pals averaged 306 pounds across the offensive line. Kelvin Anderson on 1st and 15. He gets 3 back. And there's Mobley in on the tackle.
Defensively for the Edmonton Eskimos, up front they got a huge game out of Glenn Scribner, who was replacing Doug Peterson in the lineup. He had 2 sacks, and Terry Ray and Singor Mobley have been the big play guys for that defense at the linebacking core. Shannon Garrett drives into the lineup to replace Perry Carter, who was injured on Monday.
Tonight's starting lineup brought to you by Midas, your auto service experts. On 2nd and long, pressure on Kopp, and that was an errant throw. Travis Moore looked to be the intended receiver of Kopp there, so it's a couple and out for Calgary's offense.
Well, it looks like the plan for Calgary was to involve Kelvin Anderson. He ran the ball a couple times, but Calgary cannot be in 1st and 15, start drives 15 yards away from that first down marker. It'll be a tough night for Troy Kopp if they do. But Kelvin Anderson is the key. He's got to see the football more than he did on Monday.
The Giz is ready. Standing back at his own 31. Martino will step across the 10. And they're having a little problem down there. The Stampeders are at this point. I think they came up a guy short.
They sure did. Tony Martino.
Time count violation. Calgary number 11. Still 3rd down.
Tony Martino had to wait, take the time count violation, and wait till that extra player got on the field, and it's likely due to the fact that Eric Sutton was injured earlier. He's a special teams player as well, so they're trying to find all the replacements for Eric Sutton in the lineup now.
Yeah, in all areas of the game, obviously. Martino has now bounced back to the 5, so the Stampeders are going to give up a lot of field position. Pretty good charge on, not a good kick by Martino. Bouncing out near the 40-yard line, and flags are down in a hurry. So is Gizmo. Wrapped up there. No yards, a 30-yard punt by Martino. So this game has started off poorly for the Calgary Stampeders without question.
On the return, we've got flags.
No yards. Calgary 92. First down.
The Edmonton Eskimos have struggled in their first drive of the game. 9 games into the season, 6 punts, 1 single, 1 field goal, only 1 touchdown in their first drive. That's all season long up until this point. They changed that already tonight.
Terry Vaughn takes the pass from Nealon Green, and he's hammered out near the 40-yard line. He'll be well short of a first down. Vaughn with just 1 catch in Calgary on Monday for 10 yards.
Very surprising and a frustrating afternoon for Terry Vaughn. And not having a bad season overall, 603 yards at the midway point. Obviously, he's looking at over 1,200 on the season, which would be a great year for any receiver, but he wants to catch more than one pass.
Every receiver wants at least a half a dozen every game. Not always possible. Green in some trouble now on 2nd and long, and this one's going into the front row. Had no choice, couldn't find a receiver anywhere.
Well, Ricky Walters, the 5th receiver, went down the middle and was wide open, and Nealon Green could not find him, so he just threw it away. But Ricky Walters was doing jumping jacks down the field. He was so wide open. And that's one thing that Don Matthews talked about yesterday in his press conference, was the fact that Nealon Green got to keep working on his passing game because there were receivers open on Monday. He just couldn't find them.
John Fleming has been struggling a bit of late. 3 for his last 7 over the last couple of games. And 6 for 12 from outside the 40. He's on the mark tonight. Good start for Sean Fleming, and a 10-0 lead for the Eskimos on the Calgary Stampeders. We're still early in the opening quarter.
Fleming has been struggling kicking field goals, but what a play he made on Monday in the punt formation. I think it was the key play of the game.
I really do too.
He pulled the ball down. It was a 1-point game at that time.
Yeah, it was a botched punt. It wasn't a fake. They were in trouble.
Botched punt. He pulled the ball down. It looked like he was going to get blocked and came up with the first down. Edmonton ended up scoring, took the lead, and never looked back.
And that's when the Eskimos really put their best offense on the field, was after that play. Kelvin Anderson. And we were expecting the Stampeders to run a little bit more on Labor Day. He ran into Grant Carter there. And you have to be thinking that Wally Buono believes he has to run the ball a little bit more effectively tonight.
Well, he knows he does. And, you know, he says it in the press conference yesterday, tell us that, yeah, obviously we've got to run the ball a little bit more. 6 carries for Kelvin Anderson. Not enough in one football game. Last year he averaged 21 a game.
Second down, far side, and Kopp is on the money, but Cummings drops the ball.
Aubrey Cummings was Troy Kopp's #1 target on Monday versus Edmonton, and he had 7 catches for close to 100 yards. He's still looking for that first 100-yard game. He was 96 on Monday, and this was just a case of Aubrey Cummings looking down the field for first down territory before he secured the football.
33.
So again, it's Martino standing at the 25. First punt, only 30 yards. Much better this time. And here's the Giz at the 26. Wrapped up and rolled out of bounds after a 0-yard return. 45-yard punt. Eskimos, good start, and they'll have a first down when we return to Adidas Friday Night Football. All Edmonton so far with a 10-0 lead. Nice crowd here tonight, Ken Chillibeck.
Yes, John, in the opening you were talking about expecting maybe a sellout. Well, certainly it's going to be close. I was talking to General Manager Tom Higgins a few moments ago about the crowd. He said they're looking at the vicinity of about 50,000 for this game, maybe more. Of course, this is the biggest game of the year right here in Edmonton so far, and we're going to have the biggest crowd of the year, too. No question there. Guys, back to you.
And already a great night for the Eskimos as Nora takes it on 1st and 10. He's got about 5 and ran into Alondra Johnson. What a game Nora had in Calgary on Monday. 17 carries, 143 yards.
Well, he's had 4 starts, and in 2 of those starts been over 100 yards, and against good defenses. 143, like you see there, against Calgary with an over an 8-yard average, and he also ran for 125 against the Montreal Alouettes. 2 very good defenses, and Mark Nora is really eating them up.
Gain of 3. This will be 2nd and 7. And Nealon Green missed his target. Ed Hervey, number 81. So for the first time, the Stampeders get the Eskimos out on a couple of quick plays here.
This is part of the concern for the Calgary Stampeder pass rush. They are worried about getting too far upfield. See how everybody just sits back. Shante Peoples is concerned. He's standing back, not letting Nealon Green find any lanes to run in. That's why Green has lots of time. Now they just have to rely on that secondary to hang on because it's a long time to cover.
Marvin Coleman is 2nd in punt return yardage in the CFL. He had a great game. against Edmonton on Labor Day. This one gets away from Coleman. He retreats back to the 25. And really nothing has gone right for the Stampeders thus far. I mean, there was a chance for a bit of a return there. He lost about 15.
Well, this is a tough situation for the Calgary Stampeders. Not only are they coming into Commonwealth after the game they played on Monday, and then in the very first series, one of their teammates goes down with a serious injury in Eric Sutton. They have to try and psychologically get past that and get their emotion level back up. And that's very difficult to do.
So first down, Calgary at the 31. Kelvin Anderson. This Eskimo defense is tough to run against. There's no question about that. Maybe that was part of the reason that the Stampeders didn't try to keep it on the ground.
Yeah, but they have to run, John, and they really have to try and penetrate this Edmonton defense with the run and help Troy Kopp. He has struggled. Last week, he threw 5 interceptions. He has thrown 9 interceptions on the season. It's been a very difficult start for Troy Kopp. Inexperience shown last Monday. They got to get Calvin Anderson involved, take some pressure off of him.
And again, he's looking at 2nd and 8. Little play action pass or fake there. And Mark Boerichter has a first down. Huge play for the Stampeders to finally get a little something going here.
And this is the type of play that can also help Troy Kopp's confidence because it's a short throw. Quick throw to Mark Boerichter, the outside receiver, right there in the middle of your screen. One step, come back. Alan Pitts lining up to make a nice block at the point of attack, and off goes Mark Boerichter. A quick, short throw from Troy Kopp gives him confidence. Let Boerichter pick up the yards.
That was a 15-yard gain. And here is Kelvin Anderson, and better running for Anderson this time. He gets 6. Mobley was there on the tackle. Talked about him. He's had a sensational season so far.
Well, Singor Mobley really has played well, and Brad Miller, defensive coordinator for the Edmonton Eskimos, has found a way to incorporate the talents of Terry Ray and Singor Mobley in that defensive lineup.
Anderson again, and this will be a first down. The safety, Chris Hardy, had to make the tackle. So Anderson is running well on this drive in particular. And he has a little something to prove, I would think, just on what he had to say about the number of carries he got last week and the number of yards. 6 carries, 28 yards. Those are not Anderson's numbers usually.
Yeah, well, he's got to back up what he said is what he has to do. I mean, the guy's had 1,000 yards every season he's been in the league, but he was very vocal in the media. We talked about it early. Now he's got to back it up, and so far he has been.
13 yards in the previous play for Anderson. He gets it again. And 3, maybe 4 this time. Albert Reese put the tackle on Kelvin Anderson. So the Stampeders have at least driven to field goal range on this drive. And obviously they don't want to settle for 3, but.
Well, there it is. There's your stats. Rushing yards in his career, 5,000. Of course, this is his 5th season. So if you do the math, that's over 1,000 a season. And he's never been under 1,000. Last year had 1,300.
Yeah, he's done it 4 straight years. 2nd and 6. Looked like early movement, and yes, the flag comes down. So does Kopp. And Terry Ray is celebrating that sack. Did the Eskimos get a little bit of a jump start on that? We'll see.
Again, full credit to Brad Miller, the defensive coordinator. And when you can set up different looks from this defense and confuse not only Troy Kopp, you can expect that he'll be confused at times because of his inexperience. But this is a very experienced offensive line and running backs. And Terry Ray is going to shoot right through the gap. They're giving different looks to this offensive line. And Kelvin Anderson steps the wrong way and can't get back to block Terry Ray and pick up the blitz. Terry Ray athletically just makes a tremendous play. But Brad Miller gets some credit.
Loss of 9. And the Stampeders are forced out of field goal range into a punting situation. And that goes for a single point. Adidas Friday Night Football. It's all Eskimos, but we are in Edmonton. Eskimos first down again. Nealon Green will get some heat, and he got it away. McCorvey made the catch. And he was knocked out by Alondra Johnson.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that Alondra Johnson will be going sideline to sideline in this game, and that's saying a lot for a middle linebacker because the field is 65 yards wide. But Alondra Johnson will have his motor going full speed. He's very upset, talked about it, pointed some fingers, as a matter of fact, said they needed to do better on offense and make some more plays on D.
Eskimos look at 2nd and 5 from the 40. Green with time. He had lots of it last week, and he missed Terry Vaughn. Eddie Davis was covering on Vaughn.
Well, if there's one defensive back in that Calgary secondary that is having an all-star season, it's Eddie Davis. 2 interceptions so far this year. That's an enviable task of trying to cover Terry Vaughn all night, and that's not easy. But he was right in his hip pocket there. He jammed him, recovered, got back right underneath him. Nealon Green would have had to make a perfect throw to get it in there.
Yeah, for Davis, 2 interceptions, but 7 knockdowns as well. Kicking for Edmonton. It's Fleming. Down to Coleman. Across the 20. Slowed by the first Eskimo. Ball comes loose. Touchdown Edmonton. Rick Walters has it. He's into the end zone. 24-yard touchdown. And this is just a horrible start for the Calgary Stampeders. Tough, tough night for Wally Buono.
They're having some fun early in Commonwealth, and there's a lot of them here to have fun. Special teams was pretty much a saw-off on Monday between these two teams, although Marvin Coleman did a nice job on some punt returns. Edmonton obviously took that personally and felt that their cover teams had to pick it up. Well, can't pick it up any more than scoring on a cover team.
The Eskimo story, Nealon Green has led the team on a couple of nice drives and picked up 10 points. And then they get one on special teams as Coleman fumbles the ball, and it's all the way the wrong way for Calgary for 6.
Coleman tries to cut back, and when he does, Craig Carr, the backup tailback behind Mark Nora, strips the football. Ricky Walters picks it up. The Edmonton Eskimos have 2 import backups on their roster. Craig Carr, of course, University of Manitoba, but he's covering those special teams and makes a big play there to get Walters the ball. Don Matthews is interesting. We were talking about his import situation. He says, I play 2 extra Canadians on the roster. And they cover all the teams. Craig Carr making a big play there to get Ricky Walters the football.
The Eskimos began the season with 2 straight losses. The Calgary Stampeders did nothing but win for the first few weeks. But now Calgary has lost 2 in a row, and they're in serious trouble in the early going here at Commonwealth in Edmonton. Down 17-1. Kelvin Anderson. Into a maze, and he's out to about the 27. The return is 22 yards, and Justin Ring led the tacklers.
Well, the concern now for Troy Kopp is twofold. One, obviously, he's in hostile territory, and he's trying to fight back from a deficit. But he can't get too far behind and take the running element out of the offense for the Calgary Stampeders. Troy Kopp does not want to throw the ball every play, and Dave Dickinson will not come into this football game unless it's an absolute emergency.
Stampeders beginning at the 28. Kopp keeps it on the ground for Anderson. And he has about a yard, stopped by Albert Reese.
And at this point, 17-1, and with so much time left to play, there's no need for the Calgary Stampeders to panic. But they can't get any further behind. And Wally Buono knows that he has to start to win that field position battle. He's been playing in his own end the first part of this game and giving up a couple of big plays. Now they're behind. They got to stick with the game plan and try and get that field position back.
2nd and 9. And more problems down there.
Well, you know, it's frustrating, I know, for Wally Buono because this team was on a roll coming out of the gate. Undefeated in 7 starts, feeling pretty good about themselves, feeling like they were the team to beat.
Calgary 58, second down.
In the entire league. He plays against an Edmonton Eskimo team who are trying to battle through a ton of injuries. In fact, there's 6 starters out of the lineup for Edmonton tonight, 4 of them on defense. And he's got to be standing there thinking, you know what, with Dave Dickinson, I take apart a defense that has had to make a lot of adjustments.
Well, the problems continue. 2nd and 14 now for the Stampeders. More penalties. Anderson has the football from Kopp, but he has nowhere to go. And the Stampeders are calling on Tony Martino again on 3rd down.
Well, this is a good example of what Don Matthews has built defensively for this football team, and he's built great speed. Watch how quickly, when Calvin Anderson catches the ball to the left of your screen, that there is a group of tacklers for the Edmonton Eskimos. Terry Ray's over there. Grant Carter's over there. There's like 7 Edmonton defenders right there in a hurry.
Martino's first punt wasn't terrific. His second better. This not bad. And here's the Giz trying to escape. Still, better field position for the Eskimos on the return by Henry Williams. He's out near the 45 before he start by Pilon.
Well, John, field position always so important in the game of football. And the way you can change it quickly is with a turnover. And that's what the Calgary Stampeders defensively have to try and come up with to get not only momentum, but to change that field position. If Nealon Green protects the ball, keeps the ball on the ground, and keeps a field position advantage, he will keep the lead. Mike Roach has to create a turnover, and that's the defensive coordinator for the Stamps making the calls.
Calgary defense played well last week. It's wide open for Nealon Green for a moment. Now he's back. And now he's running again. Thought to pass, thought to run, thought to pass again, then decided to run after all. Fleming finally got him out.
Well, it could have been
a few decisions on one play there.
Yeah, it could have been disastrous for the Calgary Stampeders because they came with the blitz and all the lanes weren't canceled. And when you don't cancel all the lanes on a blitz, there's not much help behind it if the quarterback can break, contain, or get out into the open field. That's exactly what Nealon Green does. See, they're all coming, and then all of a sudden there's a lane there. Now, it's a difficult situation for Alondra Johnson. He misses him. That could have been a lot worse for the Calgary defense.
Terry Vaughn makes the catch. Another big play for Edmonton, and a huge hit on Vaughn, forcing him out. It was Marvin Coleman taking out some frustration for the punt that he fumbled a moment or 2 ago.
And that's how you do it, too. That's how you do it. That's how you take some frustration out of a bad earlier play. It doesn't change the fact that you fumbled, but it feels better.
Yeah. 2nd down, less than a yard to go. Greenham's. Daniels actually got the ball for the first time. Sean Daniels. It's Vince Danielson on the other team.
Well, Nealon Green we're going to go back to this formation. I think the Edmonton Eskimos will throughout this game because Calgary paid a lot of attention to Daniels up in the middle, and it left Darryl Hall kind of on an island to the outside on Nealon Green. Now, Nealon Green gave Daniels the football on that play, but he had 2 other options. Look to see Edmonton come back to that same formation and that same play.
Another successful Eskimo drive, first down at the Stampeder 42. Green on the money one more time. McCorvey made the catch, number 85. That's the end of quarter number 1. Nealon Green has a hot hand before a full house. Still 3 quarters to go. We just haven't seen the Calgary Stampeders emerge, and we've seen the Edmonton Eskimos play almost error-free football.
Well, I agree with Matt Dunnigan that Calgary looks a little rattled, and they're going to fight through that.
Green gets hammered as he delivers, but he's on the money. Kez McCorvey makes the catch. 4 touchdowns for McCorvey in week 3 against the Blue Bombers. 2 catches, 1 touchdown, including a spectacular catch in the end zone last week.
I asked Kes McCorvey as a kid who he looked up to and who he emulated and tried to pattern his game after. He said, of course, I was a big Jerry Rice fan, of many receivers have been throughout the career of Jerry Rice, but he said he also loved Ted Alford, who played in the Canadian Football League with Winnipeg.
Hammered in the backfield, Mark Nora. No chance to get anywhere that time. And it's been all Eskimos on the scoreboard so far, and this will back it up.
Well, 6 first downs is a big difference for Calgary on the other side. Rushing, Calgary at least has had Kelvin Anderson involved in the running game in the first quarter, but Edmonton's winning that battle as well. And of course, turnover. Walter's 24-yard fumble return for the touchdown, and that's the difference.
Loss of 1 by Nora. 2nd and 11 here. Green will get hammered, and he's thrown to the turf by Alondra Johnson at the 40-yard line. So that's the first sack of the ball game for the Stampeders. Maybe that can spur them on to something. The Eskimos are in field goal range here anyway.
Well, again, a real chess game going on between the defensive coordinators. Alondra Johnson, right over here on your screen, comes off the edge. He's usually lined up in the middle of the field. Nealon Green looks to the middle and doesn't see him, and then really doesn't expect that he's going to be hit from that side from Alondra Johnson. Good chess match going on right now between Mike Roach, the defensive coordinator for Calgary, and on the other side, of course, Brad Miller, the defensive coordinator for the Edmonton Eskimos.
John Fleming has it spotted at the 47, and he hammers it home. Eskimos, nice roll at Commonwealth Stadium. First, the spirits of their football team.
They made the trip for this one. Edmonton's cheerleaders make the trip on Labor Day.
That's a rematch.
Yeah.
For the cheer teams, too. There's one. Travis Moore made the catch, then lost the ball. There's a flag down back in the secondary of the Eskimos.
Well, Calgary recovered the fumble, if in fact it was a fumble.
And the penalty was away from the play, I do believe.
Offensive pass interference, I think the call will be, and that'll take this gain away. So nothing going right for Wally Guano and the Calgary Stampeders. This is how they started the game with the penalty.
Pass interference. Calgary 88. Repeat first down.
Opening kickoff of the game, they get unnecessary roughness penalty and lose some yardage. Then in their first offensive series, they start 1st and 15 because of an offside penalty. And now this drive, when they're trying to come back, they start with a penalty. So
yeah, and you've got Troy Kopp in there at quarterback, just trying to get a little something going. And he's now looking at 1st and 20, back at the 25. Kelvin Anderson gets about 5, maybe 6. Staten makes the stop, number 38, defensive player of the week.
Wow, what a game he had on Monday, Ralph Staten. A couple of interceptions, and I think the biggest one of the game was the first drive, because Troy Kopp came out, moved down the field, got to the 3-yard line. Ralph Staten ended the drive with an interception. That really set the tone for this Edmonton defense, and they're continuing to play at that high level here tonight.
2nd and 15. Kopp looks to put it up. Will he have time? Now he decides he'll try and get back at least a little territory. Eric Edwards was there to pin the Calgary quarterback, and again, Tony Martino steps in.
Well, a good decision by Kopp, if he's not confident, doesn't see anyone open down the field, to just not give up too much yardage and not throw any more interceptions. You throw 5 on Monday, you don't want to throw any tonight.
Yeah, you have to be a little tentative after throwing 5 in a game. Martino rolling it out in front of Henry Gizmo Williams. So Martino gets a little bit back with a 48-yard punt and not allowing any return. Still a long way back for the Stampeders, trailing by 19. Make it through to round 3. So it's on CTV tomorrow afternoon. Nealon Green, long pass, far side. And Rick Walters.
Now's the time for this Calgary defense to do something, and if they're going to make a play and get some momentum, they got to do it right now, because this is, I believe, the first time or one of the few times the Edmonton Eskimos have been starting a drive in their own end of the field.
Stampeders really have to do something on defense to get this team motivated. Now would be a good time. Here's the charge, and there goes Nealon Green down to the turf. So maybe that's a beginning. Jeff Traversy limits the gain.
Everybody for the Calgary Stampeders on the line of scrimmage, and you got to start gambling to try and make some plays, trying to create something. Look at this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 guys on the line of scrimmage, and all of them going after the quarterback. Every single gap is canceled. Nealon Green has no place to run the football. Joe Fleming creating some havoc, getting the good push upfield. That's where it starts, right there, and it's a big play for Calgary. We'll finally get some field position in this game.
Calgary return men standing out near the 50. There's Marv Coleman. Dropped one earlier tonight that cost the Stamps a touchdown. Travis Moore with this return, and Eskimos special teams covered well. 0 after a 36-yard punt. Nothing on the return. Alan Pitts, just 2 catches for 27 yards last week.
Yeah,
and a goose egg tonight.
Well, that's not enough. I mean, 2 games versus the Edmonton Eskimos. Alan Pitts has generated 5 catches and 91 yards of offense. That's not typical Alan Pitts. Give credit to the Edmonton defensive backs. Ralph Staten has done a nice job against the greatest receiver in CFL history.
First down, Calgary. Kelvin Anderson doesn't get much.
And you know, Alan Pitts, John, has some good memories about this park at this time of year. Last year when he was here, he set the all-time yardage mark in CFL history. So, you know, that's fresh in his mind as he steps back on the natural grass here at Commonwealth Stadium. But it's been very quiet tonight. And again, credit that defensive backfield for Edmonton.
Gain is 4. This will be 2nd and 6. And now the Stampeders have to find a way to generate a couple of first downs here and get back into this game, and they won't do it here. Kopp was smothered, surrounded, and tossed to the turf. Robert Brown, number 92, is the Eskimos celebrating.
Well, we've often talked about how this offensive line for Calgary is an experienced offensive line, but this is where they, you know, it looks like they are losing the battle. And just watch the penetration from what is a fairly simple stunt from the Calgary defense. To say stunt, it's not really a blitz, they're just switching responsibilities. Robert Brown hits one gap and Glenn Scribner another.
And that was almost a blocked punt. No return for Henry Williams, who's a little frustrated out there tonight. He wants to get his hands on the football and put on a little show when there's a sellout at Commonwealth. That's exactly what's on Giz's mind.
There they are sitting around the table going, I got an idea. We'll cut watermelons in half and we'll wear them as hats. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, another flag goes down. It's against the Eskimos this time for procedure.
Illegal procedure. Edmonton 57. Still first down.
Well, that's Val St. Germain, and we showed you in the last series Joe Fleming working on Val St. Germain and driving him back. And that'll get your feet moving in a hurry, and it was too fast for Val St. Germain when you're facing Joe Fleming.
1st and 15, Nealon Green. And the catch was not made by Kez McCorvey. Coverage by Darrell Hall. McCorvey had that outstanding circus catch in the end zone on Monday in Calgary.
You remember Ted Alford?
Yeah.
Used to play for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and Ted Alford and Kez McCorvey went to Florida State together, and he said he patterned himself after Ted Alford and, of course, the great Jerry Rice in the National Football League. And
McCorvey and McMahon, pretty darn nice here.
Oh, unbelievable catch. Up over the top of Jack Kellogg, and he's made a few of those this season. 8 touchdowns on the year.
2nd and a bunch for the Eskimos. Some room for Nealon Green, far side, but he doesn't have the right angle to get a first down here. Alondra Johnson ran him down.
Now, we told you sideline to sideline, right? It's a long way for Alondra Johnson to travel.
Well, finally, the Stampeders forced the Eskimos to give up field position here.
Well, this is the far side. Look at Alondra Johnson. He's going to go from there, drop down the hash mark. Watch him drop down the hash mark. 45 yards later, he's the first guy to kneel on green. Sideline to sideline.
Fleming puts it high on 3rd down. This is Marvin Coleman. And he's wrapped up in a hurry at the 55-yard line. Rick Walters has made an impression tonight. 4 on the return, 47-yard punt, but something to build on for the Calgary Stampeders here.
Yeah, and what's the biggest difference, though, for the Edmonton Eskimos turning around their season after getting a slow start to the season? You know what it is? This defense is starting to gel, and it's Don Matthews' signature has always been defensive side of the football. Brad Miller is the guy coordinating that defense, and they are playing great over the last 7 weeks.
Kelvin Anderson breaks one here for the Stampeders. He's inside the Eskimo 40-yard line. Chris Hardy, the safety, had to go over to make the tackle and got some help from Singor Mobley.
Good bounce to Kelvin Anderson's step here tonight. Gets a hole up in there. And my conversation with Fred Childress before the game, I asked him about why they didn't run more. He said, I don't make those decisions, but I'd like to fire off the football and make some blocks downfield if I could.
18 yards for the Stampeders, and another penalty coming up here.
It was interesting because I looked at him like, why did you guys not run the ball more? And he said, hey, that's not up to me. I just do what they ask me to do. I said, well, yeah, would you like to run the football a little more? He said, offensive linemen, and in Fred Childress, offensive linemen.
Yeah, he gets down there.
Like to just run the ball in time. It's like, whoa, okay. Because they want to fire out. If you're pass blocking, you have to sit back on your haunches.
They're playing your song again. I can hear it in the background.
If he wants to fire out, that's when they can get aggressive and start to win that intimidation battle on the line of scrimmage.
Well, the right side is huge. Fred Childress, Thomas Ram.
Illegal procedure. Calgary 58. Repeat first down.
There's Thomas Ram. Lines up beside Fred Childress, and his offsetting penalties really didn't happen. We'll do it again.
Forget the whole darn thing. It's 1st and 10, right where the ball was. Here's Kelvin Anderson running with much more authority tonight. We talked about his story quite a bit, but last week Anderson carried the ball for only 28 yards, an average of 4.7 per carry. Terry Ray made the tackle on Anderson.
Watch over here at the point of attack, the block that Kelvin Anderson is going to get as he comes around the corner. It's Thomas Ram right there and Fred Childress on the kickout block on Terry Ray. That gives Kelvin Anderson a little bit of room. Big Fred Childress did get a chance to fire off the football.
Stampeders a football short of the first down.
Just a few links to go. A few links in that chain. 11 carries for Kelvin Anderson, 70 yards.
Well, that's already a huge difference from Monday, where he had 6 carries.
It has not been a good start to the evening for Wally Buono, but if they can somehow get a touchdown here, the Stampeders will quiet this crowd a little bit. And there's lots of time to go in the game with 7 minutes till halftime. 2nd and inches, and that'll be moving the ball time for the Stampeders.
Well, they really have to come away with points, so I'm talking about the Calgary Stampeders in a drive like this. Finally, inside the 30-yard line, they're in scoring zone. They get a chance to get some momentum back, get back in this football game. This is a crucial drive. Crucial that the Calgary offense can finish the drive, something they had a huge problem with on Monday.
Eskimos on top, 20-1. It's the rematch at Commonwealth. And it's Kelvin Anderson again. Halfway to another first down, and guess who's there? Mobley, number 27.
Singor Mobley, 34 tackles on the season, and he's the guy that adjusts in the 5 receiver packages that he faces throughout this league. So he's often in pass coverage and is still second on the team in tackles with 34. So even though he's covering receivers down the field, he's turning around and has the speed to get back and get involved in the tackles. Of course, Terry Ray leads the team with 48.
Yeah, he makes big plays. No question about it. Actually, both of them do. Ray and Mobley. Kelvin Anderson. And he stopped a little bit short from my vantage point. Terry Ray is there again.
Huge decision here for Wally Buono whether or not to gamble if in fact they're short. As short as it looks like about a yard away. You know, and with the way they have struggled, you would think that this might be an opportunity to go ahead and gamble. See if you can come up with that first down and give your entire football team a lift. Brad Miller just put all the big guys up on the line of scrimmage in this situation, expecting Kelvin Anderson to get the football.
So here you go, 5 straight running plays, 5 straight calls to Kelvin Anderson. And there's number 6. It'll be the first down that the Stampeders so desperately need.
And I love the call. It's just a yard, but you always have to take a big chance when you go 1 yard away and you gamble on 3rd down. Anything can happen. You can fumble the snap, you can turn around and slip on the natural grass here at Commonwealth Stadium, and all of a sudden you give Edmonton the football back. But I love the call to gamble.
What is George Cortez trying to say down there now?
It's definitely
right arm out straight, hit the shoulder, hit the head.
It's definitely not bunting. He's not. But even he was pumped up, signaling the plays in.
Yeah, here we go from the 13-yard line. Stampeders need a touchdown to get back in this one. Heat is on Kopp, end zone toss, and he missed him. Mark Boerichter was the intended target, and Kopp couldn't get there. Staten was covering.
Well, the timing was right, the call was right, and Boerichter was open. He just overthrew him by a little bit.
Ralph Staten, number 38, in on the coverage for the Eskimos, 2nd down.
You know, and the timing, what I'm talking about, you got to get Boerichter, who comes in here, gets a little movement, and then runs the corner pattern. Kopp has to throw it before the break, which he does. There, the ball is in the air. He just overthrows it, and Boerichter can't run under it.
Good call, good pattern. 2nd and 10, though. Releases in a hurry, and he hit an Eskimo defender in the numbers in the back. He hit him right in the back.
Troy Kopp threw that ball blind. He took 3 steps and threw the ball blind, and Staten just comes up and is trying to get in position in case Kelvin Anderson gets the football. It doesn't even look back, and he gets it right in the ear hole.
Yeah, that's not very fair, is it?
You know, it's not interference because he didn't even screen him. He didn't know the ball was even being thrown. He just went up and stood in front of Kelvin Anderson and got hit with the football.
Stamps will settle for a Mark McLaughlin field goal try. Good on 22 of 25. Definitely within range, so it's going to be small steps for the Calgary Stampeders to get back into this game. They're down by 16.
Field goal is good. Eskimos lead 20-4.
Dave Dickinson is helping out, watching from the sidelines, anxious to get back in.
Practiced the last couple of days in Calgary, but Wally Buono just did not want to take a chance with his starting quarterback. There's a lot of football to be played. Yes, this game is important. It's for first place in the West, and it's Edmonton, and it's the rematch. Very important game, no question about it, but it is only halfway through the season, and you want to be first place in late October, early November, not in September.
Well, and you won't get to first place if you don't have your starting quarterback, and if Dickinson aggravates his injury, it's going to be a much longer season in Calgary.
No question.
Without question. A little glimmer of hope. Now, see if the Stampeder defense can help out again. Nora is not having quite the running night he had.
Well, this defense for Calgary is starting to dig in, and this is what happened on Labor Day. The defense for the Stamps played great other than about 2 or 3 plays that Mark Nora made into big plays, running for 145 yards. But it's starting to dig in now.
And much of Nora's yardage did come late in the game. It was a close ball game going into the second half. Green puts it up. McCorvey has it. And he's grabbed out of midair.
Dan Disley's going to get a little playing time in his second year in Western Ontario because of the injury to Eric Sutton. He got caught a little bit.
20-4. Those Eskimos lead those Stampeders in the Battle of Alberta. Back at Commonwealth for Adidas Friday Night Football. The Eskimos by 16 on the Stampeders. Here's Ken Schillebeck with an injury update. Ken?
Yeah, John, good news concerning Eric Sutton, a Calgary Stampeder player injured early in the game. Reportedly a neck injury. As we talked earlier, I talked to Ron Rook, the director of communications for the Stampeders. He said after a few minutes he got complete movement in his left leg. That was a concern. He had some numbness in his left leg, but after a few minutes, complete movement. So they've taken him to the hospital for some x-rays, just precautionary reasons. But good news for Eric Sutton and the Stampeders, obviously. Guys, back to you.
That's great news.
It is terrific news.
Great news that he's got feeling back in his legs. So they'll take the x-rays, and I'm sure that Wally Buono will inform the entire football team at halftime about Eric Sutton's condition, and they'll be ready to play a better second half.
Concern over Sutton obviously filtered through all areas of the Stampeder team.
No question.
Another first down for the Eskimos. It was McCorvey, and here's Delon Green going to the other side this time. Terry Vaughn makes the catch, and Alondra Johnson was right with him.
Alondra Johnson's trying to do this all by himself, and he's not going to be able to do it. He's going to need the help of his teammates, and the secondary for the Calgary Stampeders are going to have to try and get over the loss of Eric Sutton in this game, and backups like Dan Disley and Aldi Henry are going to have to pick up their game for Calgary.
Second down, less than a yard to go for the Eskimos. And Mark Nora should have it. They'll move the sticks again. The Eskimos have been very effective through the first half thus far, and 2 minutes 15 seconds remain till halftime. You know that young James Duthie?
Yeah.
Well, he may not be on at halftime.
I vote James Duthie off the island. Well, you know, I don't blame the fan for writing the sign. I mean, when you think about it, you're going on the island, you got Matt Dunnigan, Chris Schultz, or James Duthie. You know, Dunnigan and Schultz are going to be able to eat fish and catch them barehanded, and Duthie's probably scared to clean them. So I'd vote him off, too.
Anyway, the guys, oh, my gosh. James. Anyway, we're not off the island completely. You've got another chance. Boys will be with you at halftime.
Well, the Edmonton Eskimos have a chance here to increase the deficit. Calgary Stampeders before halftime. They've got a good drive going.
Mark Nora. And another first down for the Eskimos.
You know, we talked, John, on Monday about Delon Green's poor passing performance, but one thing he didn't do is he didn't throw the football away.
No interceptions.
Yeah.
And one late touchdown.
So, yeah, he only threw for 117 yards, but he doesn't really care about it because he won the football game. Now he obviously make adjustments and wants to be a better passer and improve that part of his game. But you don't throw that interception, makes a big difference, and that's been the big difference for Delon Green.
Nora lost the ball. It's loose, and Green goes in and gets it himself. The quarterback had to dive in himself and retain possession of the football.
Ray Jacobs did not see the ball on the ground. It seemed like it was sitting there forever. Jacobs makes the tackle right over here. Watch when he makes the tackle on Nora. Look, he's got Nora, but the ball's sitting there. 1,000 to 1,000, and Green has to go get it. Ray Jacobs could have moved his right arm about half a foot and picked up the football, but he didn't see it.
Yeah. With about a minute to go till halftime, that could have been a huge play for the Stampeders. Delon Green is looking at 2nd and 10 and thinking about running. Now he fires it inside the 10, and there was nobody home there.
Well, Aldi Henry really should have had an interception. A difficult catch, but that's 2 plays that has been the difference over 2 games between these two teams. Ray Jacobs has a chance to get the turnover with the fumble, doesn't see it. Aldi Henry gets a chance in the very next play to come up with an interception and drops the football. A difficult catch, but that has been the difference, finishing off plays, finishing off drives.
Fleming is in again, 2 for 2 so far at Commonwealth tonight. This will be spotted at the 27. Fleming under it, and he's got it. So 3 more for the Eskimos. And back-to-back plays where the Calgary Stampeders had a chance to get the ball back, and there was plenty of time for a drive for 3 points going the other way. Instead,
yeah. Well, and that, like I say, that's the difference. The Calgary Stampeders aren't finishing plays and haven't for 2 games now. The Edmonton Eskimos have been, and that has been the difference, and the reason Edmonton won the first half and are way ahead, looking to sweep the series. First time since 1990 for Edmonton.
You got him, T-Ray.
If they can finish, but we still have a half to play.
Well, there's a half of football to go. And the Stampeders are a couple of big plays away from getting back into this, but they haven't shown us that they have big play potential so far tonight. Kopp had to release it in a hurry. Bo Richter was his target. He had no chance to make the catch.
You know, and Wally Bono at the cornerback position really doesn't have a whole lot of options. Ben Sankey is the backup. He just has not had enough reps all year long. I mean, he didn't take a rep when the team practiced offensively until last week. So for 7 weeks, he never took a rep. Dave Dickinson and Troy Kopp took them all. So he just really can't go there unless it's an emergency, and Dave Dickinson won't come in either.
Troy Kopp 2 of 7 for 21 yards. That's stellar numbers. And another problem there. There's a lot to learn about being a quarterback in this game, is there not?
And you know, Wally Buono said it yesterday, and I thought he said it well. He just said, look, obviously the quarterback always is the focus of attention, and if he throws 5 interceptions, he's the guy everyone says, well, that was the reason. Troy Kopp can't get it done. Troy Kopp didn't get a whole lot of help. Alan Pitts didn't get open on Monday, and he hasn't got open in the first half of this game. And really, that offensive line, who with the inexperienced quarterback has now got to hold that block for 1 extra second so that quarterback can see things down the field, and that offensive line for Calgary just isn't getting it done right now. And you know, when the backup's in there,
Offside.
you got to play that much
Calgary
better.
18, penalties decline. Clock will start on the whistle.
Now, are you blaming Kopp for that, or is that all Alan Pitt's fault there for being offside? I mean, there have been a couple of offsides by receivers for Calgary tonight. So all the blame doesn't go on the quarterback. Kopp stands in. Ball. Danielson has it. Now we'll see how close they are to a first down with 32 seconds to go. Mobley was over to make the tackle.
Well, there'll be inches. It looks like away, but they'll measure it to make sure. And what the measurement does, even though you could see by where they put the football, what it does is it gives Calgary a chance to get in the huddle and call a couple of plays and see if they can't get in field goal position. Call a couple of plays in the huddle so that they can call the next one on the line.
Well, again, that becomes a problem for a quarterback without a whole pile of experience.
Wait.
Less than a yard to go for a Calgary first down. No markers there. And I think Kopp should have it.
But that's one he called on the line. Now he called 2 in the huddle, and now he's going to line them up and try and get the second one that he called in the huddle set up. He wants to make an adjustment, trying to make a couple adjustments on the line of scrimmage and get them out to the wide receivers. He's got time for a few plays, but the clock's running now.
The heat is on. Cummings makes the catch. And wrapped up by Jerome Peterson. 16 seconds to go.
Time for 3 more plays, and they need about 15 yards of offense to get into Mark McLaughlin's field goal range.
Second and 2. Cobb stands in, looks long. He's got him down at the 10-yard line. Travis Moore. There's the catch of the game.
And there's the blocking I was talking about. For the first time in this game, that offensive line, they really got the job done and gave Troy Kopp long enough to let Travis Moore get into a one-on-one matchup with Chris Hardy. Watch the time he's going to get up front from the 5 guys up front. Troy Kopp needed enough time to wait for Travis Moore to get in the one-on-one with Chris Hardy. That took a long time to happen. He finally got it, and Moore comes up with a big catch, having to look over his shoulder.
Yeah, and Hardy saves the touchdown there. Now, 4 seconds till halftime. And there's no other option but call on Mark McLaughlin.
But if you go to the end zone, it's your only chance. So get the points while you're down there.
McLaughlin is good. And the Stampeders finish off the opening half with their best couple of plays of the evening so far. Duffy and the guys are on the island. It's halftime at Adidas Friday Night Football. Don Matthews and his Eskimos got the upper hand in the first half in a 16-point lead. Let's bring in Ken Chillibeck.
Well, there's got to be some positives there, especially the end of the first half. A big catch by Moore and Calvin Anderson.
Well, we put us, like I say, somewhat back into the game. You know, the easy 7 they got, you know, unfortunately right now is big, but hopefully we can get that back.
Just comment, any update on Eric Sutton?
Well, we haven't had any update except for the fact that he had feeling in all his extremities, which is good. So we're just praying that everything's fine with him.
Thank you.
Okay.
So there's the good news for the Calgary Stampeders, not to mention the drive, the big catch, and a field goal to get within 16.
Yeah, they do have a little momentum now. They got a little drive together at the end of the half, came away with a field goal. They've got some points. It's not too big of a lead that they can't come back from it. And they got the good news from Eric Sutton, so they can rest at ease there at least for now and see the rest of this game. They can't get back into it early.
Yeah, and they really have to do it early, don't they? In front of this crowd at Commonwealth Stadium. Second half underway. Singar Mobley. He's a great return guy when he gets up on a little head of steam. Linebacker returning kickoffs is a pretty interesting story. 19 yards on the return. Nealon Green had the best of the quarterbacks in the opening half. Kopp 5 of 10, Green 11 of 16, but neither with substantial yardage, both less than 100.
Good news for Troy Kopp is no interceptions, and for Nealon Green, it's the rushing yards. Because even if the passing isn't happening, he needs to take off and run. That's how he's been successful. Troy Kopp, on the other hand, just wants to control the football, not make the big mistakes like he made on Monday.
Eskimos first down. Nice play action fake by Green, and he's got a target. First catch for Nigel Williams. And there are markers down back there in the Stampeders secondary.
And it's a secondary that has a huge challenge in front of them because this is a great...
Too many men, Calgary. First down.
They lined up with too many men on the field.
Trying to figure out all of the little problems.
Well, I was talking about
on the Stampeders so far.
I was talking about the challenge in that secondary when you have to replace Eric Sutton. Dan Disley's had a little chance to play. He's the extra defensive back, as is Aldi Henry. So trying to make some adjustments.
First down Eskimos. Nora stopped after he gained less than a yard. Traversy was there. Number 94.
And then you combine that fact when you're talking about the secondary, John, with the fact that Jack Kellogg, 6-year veteran Jack Kellogg, is playing with a real tender hamstring and is having a lot of trouble getting to full speed. So you've got slightly nicked up Jack Kellogg, Eric Sutton out of the game, your backups in Aldi Henry playing in that secondary, and these are playmakers on the other side of the football with the Edmonton receiving corps.
Eskimos look at 2nd and 10. Green will put it up over the middle and on the money for Terry Bond. Huge play for Vaughn. Eddie Davis was covering.
Just found a spot in the zone. Terry Vaughn before the game was running laps, and it looked like he ran about 4 or 5 miles to warm up, and then he finally came past me at one end zone and said, all right, that's it. I'm as warm as I'm ever going to be. Doesn't look like he overdid it, though.
Game was 11. Another Eskimo first down. Stampeder 44. Fake to Nora. Green goes long. Wide open is Hervey. Or McCorvey. And he couldn't make the catch.
Well, it was a well-executed play that just didn't finish off the way Nealon Green wanted it to. I say well-executed because the play action really froze everybody, and Kes McCorvey had got outside of Aldi Henry, the backup. That's a challenge. Aldi Henry getting a chance to play, and Kes McCorvey gets in behind him. Didn't have any help from his corner and got a little bit lucky.
Just off his fingertips, 2nd and 10 Edmonton. Shotgun this time. He's coming. Green escapes the first wave. He won't get away from everyone. And he's wrapped up at the 45. Ray Jacobs, 84, made the tackle.
Pressure came from the safety, Greg Frères. He comes up and he takes away one of the blocks. So that gives Ray Jacobs, Joe Fleming, Shondae Peoples, the true pass rushers, a chance to get in one-on-one situations. Sometimes you don't need to surprise. Look at this. There's the safety, Greg Frères. Sometimes surprise is not the biggest factor in a blitz. As long as Greg Frères takes up that block from Bruce Beaton, that gives one-on-ones to everyone else, so Joe Fleming and Shondae Peoples won't get double-teamed. Jacobs is one of those guys as well, and he gets the sack, or gets him down.
50-yard field goal try. Sean Fleming has it up, and he missed this one. Stampeders give up the point without any hesitation at all.
Sean Fleming's 50-yard.
24-7. The Eskimos get the first points of the second half, too. It's Adidas Friday Night Football. We're watching with 50,000 of our closest friends here at Commonwealth. Alan Pitts, 2 receptions last week, 27 yards, I should say, on Monday. 0 catches tonight. So somehow Copp has to find the big gun receiver.
Well, I'm going to watch him and see if it's Pitt's not getting open or Copp not finding him.
Kelvin Anderson breaks 1, 2 tackles, and he's through for a first down. Mobley finally caught up with him. Nice run by Kelvin Anderson. He's had a few tonight.
Well, that has been the one thing the Calgary Stampeders have done better tonight, and that's rushed with Kelvin Anderson. 6 carries on Monday. He's already at 16 carries and close to a 100-yard game. And when Kelvin Anderson gets 100 yards, the Stampeders usually win.
And Mark Nora just 27 yards for the Eskimos. Stampeders first down. Copp will get some heat, and he's down. Albert Reese was through, number 95. 3rd sack by the Eskimos.
Ralph Staten came from the secondary on the blitz, and just like Greg Frères, Ralph Staten makes Kelvin Anderson slide over and block him. Well, he'll come from this side, and Kelvin Anderson is going to have to stop and come back and try and block him. See, Kelvin Anderson, he has to recover. Staten goes over the top, and now Reese is in the one-on-one. Just like the Calgary Stampeders blitzing, sometimes the secondary guy just takes up the key block.
Loss of 6, making this 2nd and 16. Copp has 4 receivers to the far side. That's where he's looking. Coming back to make the catch, well short of the first down. Cummings is the receiver, and not a very well executed play when you need that many yards.
Well, that's what the Edmonton defense, that was the only thing they really gave up.
Yeah, okay.
You know, and in fairness to Troy Copp, he looks down the field and he sees a couple of defenders on every one of those deeper receivers. And so all he has to do is say, well, I don't want to force it again.
Yeah, and see if I can make the completion here, and maybe something will happen. He'll be able to get some yards after the catch.
Right.
Martino sails it. And the Giz makes the catch and then escapes. Here's the Giz. He'll electrify the crowd at Commonwealth, as he has done so many times before. Henry Williams, in his CFL career, has taken 26 punt returns all the way. He was a block away from another one there. Well, the Eskimos have the ball again and another first down after the Stampeders were forced to kick away one more time. From the Eskimo 37, Ricky Walters. And he ran into Alondra Johnson. Not much running room after the catch. Not much at all. A yard is all he gets.
You know, the Edmonton Eskimos have run that play a few times offensively, and one of the elements of the play is that Mark Nora goes out to try and get a block for one of the receivers, whichever receiver catches that hitch pass. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Mark Nora pretending to block someone when they try it again and going down the field.
2nd and 9. Elon Green. Deep drop, got it away. Kirby makes the catch, and markers are down on the Stampeders secondary.
Jack Kellogg was in a battle down the field with Donnie Ashley. There was all kinds of pushing and shoving going on, and if you have a bit of a hamstring like Jack Kellogg does, you'll tend to go up and jam more and trying to get your hands on a receiver. I'm not sure if that was the penalty, but they were in a real battle down the field, and that's one thing you have to do if you're injured.
Forward pass interference. Edmonton number 13. Penalties decline. 3rd down.
Well, the officials were watching another battle going on. That was with Ricky Walters, and they didn't see Jack Kellogg with the grab. So Calgary Stampeders at the end of it all get the ball back.
Yeah. It is the Battle of Alberta. Back-to-back games, home and away. First Calgary, next Edmonton, 4 days apart. No love lost between these teams at any time of the season, but it's particularly tense and hostile in September. Another flag is down, likely no yards against the Eskimos. So, we invited a few folks to come and join us here tonight.
53,000.
Yeah, you're a very popular guy.
You know what it's like to send out 53,200 invitations?
Oh, yeah, just looking at the stamps.
It took me a while. Well, they all showed up, even some from Calgary. Highest attendance for a game so far this season.
Yeah, it is.
Canadian Football League.
No question about it. Of course, McMahon was sold out on Labor Day. Great crowds in Regina and Winnipeg, as well as Montreal. So it's been a great week. Kelvin Anderson tried to string it outside, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Eskimos were there, led by Grant Carter.
Well, Grant Carter and Terry Ray are the guys in the middle making the play. And this is the quickness. We talked about Terry Ray in the opening, and watch the quickness of him penetrating the line of scrimmage. When he can get up in there that fast, it really disrupts things offensively. Terry Ray shoots the gap. He gets involved in the tackle. Along with Grant Carter, it's Mobley and Ray, the two guys that are really leading this defense that is becoming arguably the best in the league.
It's young and very, very quick, this Eskimo defense. Dropped the ball. Had it, dropped it. Vince Danielson.
Wally Buono can't believe it. And that's not mistakes by your quarterback. You know, and he took a lot of criticism. Troy Cobb did. Throw that under route. That's a veteran receiver, Vince Danielson, putting it on the ground.
Martino sails this one. And here's Henry Williams. Looking for the block, trying to turn the corner. Got one there and ran into another pile of Stampeders. Tunkara made the tackle. Eskimos are 1st and 10 when we return to Commonwealth in Edmonton. Stampeders' next home game, an important one again, September 16th against the Tiger Cats. There's where you can get your ticket information. The Eskimos have the lead on the Stampeders tonight. And another 1st and 10 Edmonton beginning at the 24. Here's Nealon Green. Behind the receiver, a chance for Kellogg. Interception.
Well, they
Made.
just can't finish. You know, and that's the problem for the Calgary Stampeders. They can't finish. In good position, Jack Kellogg was right there. Looked like a relatively easy catch. He's right here, and he's going to come down the seam. He baits it real well, stays underneath the hip of the receiver, Kes McCorvey, and that's an easy catch to make.
Couple of interception possibilities for the Stampeders. 2nd and 10 Edmonton. Green decided to take off from the get-go, and he's wrapped up. It looks like he's short of the first down. Eddie Davis got over to make the tackle on Nealon Green, who was thinking run right from the snap.
On Monday, the Edmonton Eskimos made some big plays running the football when they caught Calgary in some blitzes. And usually it was when Greg Frères, the safety, was up at the line of scrimmage. I think Nealon Green saw that in the film. Saw Greg Frères up there again and thought, I can break one here and run it. But Frères is the guy that actually made the tackle. At least slowed him up so his friends could help out on the tackle.
Chance for Calgary here for decent field position. The returners are standing back near the 40.
Low.
This is a zinger. More. Here's Travis Moore. And the first Eskimo down is the first there to make the tackle. Charles Asman. 7 on the return. A whopping 61 yards on the punt. And Peters, so this would be absolutely
he looks
horrific if he can't get back into the lineup. Not necessarily tonight, but very quickly, because he has been their best receiver without question.
And he looks
they
like
lose him on a punt return.
He's in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
They're looking down at his ankle, lower leg area. There's Travis Moore right there in the middle of your screen. Watch the legs, the lower leg, and he got rolled on right there.
Hey, football fans, introducing for the first time ever the world's fun trackers. Tonight you'll find them cruising the
right away, grab
ankle.
down to the lower leg or left ankle. And you're right, John. I mean, Travis Moore has been Calgary Stampeders' best receiver, and when you got Alan Pitts in your lineup, that's saying a whole bunch. But
he's been more productive than Pitts with 10 touchdowns so far this season.
755 yards coming into this game. Has been the big play guy for Calgary all season long. And we lost Eric Sutton, the extra defensive back. We did get some good news about his neck injury. He had feeling in all of his extremities, and there goes Travis Moore. It looks like he's in a lot of pain, that left ankle.
(24-7), Eskimos have the lead, and they have dominated thus far. 7:04 to go.
But every team,
the third quarter,
every team, John, has to battle during the season with injuries. You know, the Edmonton Eskimos coming into this game, I mentioned it earlier, without 6 of their starters, including Doug Peterson, who was having a tremendous year. Malvin Hunter is gone. Lost a couple of guys out of the secondary, and Torrey Hunter.
Yeah, and Perry Carter went down last game.
Perry Carter is starting corner. So, you know, that's why you recruit, and that's why you build depth.
Stampeders on first down without Travis Moore. Kelvin Anderson couldn't find any room there. Grant Carter was waiting.
You know, when you look at the Calgary lineup, I mean, they do have depth in their offense. You got Aubrey Cummings that can move in and play for Travis Moore. You got Andre Arlane that's been there for 3 years. Now, they did take Rock Preston, the backup running back, off the roster for this game to make room for Kevin Johnson, who's back on the lineup and back on the roster for Calgary.
Stampeders looking at 2nd and long again. Cobb, shotgun, stands in, fires, complete. No, it's not. He dropped it right in his mitts, and Alan Pitts couldn't hang on. There's a penalty flag back near the line of scrimmage, however.
Well, it may not have mattered whether or not he caught it anyway. We'll see what the penalty is.
Illegal contact on a receiver. Edmonton 29. First down.
There you go. Jerome Peterson can't believe it. He was covering Pitts.
A little pushing and shoving, and Pitts was very subtle when he did the pushing. Peterson got caught. Here they come.
So the Stampeders have a first down. Cobb. A long toss far side, and Aubrey Cummings hangs on.
Now that was a great throw from Troy Kopp. And you know, in the last few series, he has put the ball on the money. He had Vince Danielson drop one. Alan Pitts dropped one. They did get the penalty. Aubrey Cummings finally comes up with a catch for his quarterback. And Kopp looks like he has thrown the ball a little bit better. Just a timing pattern to the outside. Aubrey Cummings working right there on Eric Edwards, who's playing the deep zone, and Jerome Peterson in the shorter zone.
Kelvin Anderson looked to be stopped, but he gets 4 and salvages a little bit. Mobley playing another solid game for the Eskimos without question. He gets mentioned a lot, so Mobley comes up with a tackle.
2 interceptions for touchdowns for Singor Mobley. Also has a sack coming into this game. Played special teams for the Dallas Cowboys in 1999. One game versus the Giants that year, 7 tackles on special teams.
Key play here for Calgary. 2nd and 7. Kopp with time. Intercepted. That's the first one he's tossed up. Chris Hardy makes the catch, laterals up. And the Eskimos keep it rolling as Eric Edwards took the lateral from Hardy. And there's the first toss, and everyone's on their feet.
This is where the loss of Travis Moore hurts you. And I'll explain. Travis Moore is the deep threat, the guy that would keep Chris Hardy back deep in coverage. Hardy's right here. Now, if Travis Moore's in the game, he's got to get deeper because of Travis Moore's speed. With him out of the game, he can play a lot shallower and jump underneath patterns, and that's what he does for the interception.
Heads up on the lateral, too, to grab a few more yards. So the Eskimos have it right back. And inside Stampeder territory with penalty flags going down. 4th interception of the season for Chris Hardy.
Well, it all happens for a reason. Chris Hardy would normally have to play a lot deeper, and that underneath pattern would be there.
Illegal procedures. Calgary 64. Still first down.
So 4 interceptions for Chris Hardy. Ironically, all have come against the Calgary Stampeders.
You play Calgary every night.
Yeah, well, not all against Troy Kopp, though. But he had one last week as well. Green stands in, and he's wrapped up. Jacobs is there, number 94. Or 84, I should say.
Well, Ray Jacobs would like to play the Edmonton Eskimos every night because on Monday he had a couple of sacks against them in their loss and has played a very good game again tonight. Working the opposite side from Shante Peoples and often gets a chance to play beside Joe Fleming. That can open things up for him.
Big loss, 2nd and 23. 3:54 remaining in the 3rd quarter. Green one-hopped it to the far side for Williams, and there was a marker down already.
Well, Fleming had a pretty good pass rush, and that's where the flag was thrown, right around that area, and I'm not sure if there wasn't a little holding going on. But they would decline that penalty like they have and get the football back.
Well, it's 3rd and it's not a half an acre here.
Illegal block to the face. Edmonton 62. Penalties declined. 3rd down.
That's Bruce Beaton.
I think he was working on Joe Fleming. That was the penalty you declining. So, and it's not easy, but the defense did their job with a sudden change, the Chris Hardy interception It's called the sudden change. It's easy to come out there with your heads down, but the Calgary Stampeders haven't given up. Keep battling to stay in this one.
Stamps got fairly close there. This is Marvin Coleman, and he's out to about the 25. 6 on the return, 47 on the punt. And it's been a tough night for the Calgary Stampeders on their journey north to Edmonton for the rematch in the Battle of Alberta. Just about everything that could go wrong has gone wrong.
Aldi Henry should have had that interception. Ray Jacobs couldn't see the fumble. He couldn't finish that. Jack Kellogg has a chance for an interception in Edmonton's end, and he drops it. And then, of course, Troy Kopp throws one right to Chris Hardy, who gets to play a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage with Travis Moore out of the game due to an injury. Things have not gone well for Wally Buono.
Stamps are down 24-7, but they have a first down here, and Kelvin Anderson has been running well all night long. Mobley again on the tackle.
Well, that is the good news for Calgary, except for the fact that when you're down by 14 points, actually it's more than 14.
Yeah, it's more than 14. Kelvin Anderson has gone over 100 yards on 20 carries. Anderson found a way to get the first down on second and a couple. Spun out of there, and Shannon Garrett had to come up and make the tackle.
Well, when Kelvin Anderson gets 100 yards rushing, like he just surpassed, and Stampeders usually win the football game. That's their record. But they're going to need more than just Calvin Anderson now.
Well, they need big plays. They need a couple of huge plays at this point because there's still a quarter to go and a couple of minutes left in the third. Now would be the time to get into the end zone for the first time and get a little momentum. Bo Richter makes the catch, and this is momentum here as Bo Richter heads down the sidelines. Nice run after the catch, and 27 was there again, Mobley.
You mentioned it a couple times about Mark Bo Richter, the sensational rookie for the Calgary Stampeders. Came into the game with 600 yards and 3 touchdowns. Mark Bo Richter weighs around 215, 220 pounds, and he's 6'3". When he came into training camp, watch the speed and the explosion to the outside. He ran a 4.45. 6'3", 215, running a 4.45.
Very quick and great hands, too.
I used to play a little DB. When you hear that, you go, yikes.
And huge, too. This time, Kelvin Anderson jumps over a couple of Eskimos. And Terry Ray makes the stop after a 4-yard gain.
Best game of the year for Mark Bo Richter was against Saskatchewan. Over 100 yards. In preseason, he led the Calgary Stampeders in receptions. Limited playing time.
He has made an instant impact on a receiving corps that already has several stars.
That's his Saskatchewan game in week 4. 158 yards receiving. Pretty good average at 26. Does a lot with the football after he catches it with that great speed and size that he possesses. Signed a 2-year contract and an option with the Calgary Stampeders, so he's locked in for a couple of years. And obviously with a guy of that kind of size, a lot of National Football League teams will be looking at him as well, but he will spend the next couple of years for sure with the Calgary Stampeders.
Now there are more problems for the Calgary Stampeders, and you may not believe this, but Kelvin Anderson is down now. And he has been their best offensive player, bar none, tonight.
Well, it's an even bigger problem when you consider the fact that Rock Preston was left off the roster for this game. Wally Buono wanted to get Kevin Johnson in the game, the linebacker that was in a tryout with the National Football League that's been around Calgary for a couple of weeks, but he couldn't get him in the roster.
Well, Anderson is up and off under his own power. That's good. Here's Ken Chilliwack.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Travis Moore in a lot of pain trying to walk on his left ankle. That seems to be the problem. I talked to the Calgary Stampeders medical staff, and they said it looks like a sprained ankle. That's what they're calling it right now. They're going to just let him sit for a while and reassess in about 10 or 15 minutes and see where it goes from there. Guys, back to you.
It doesn't sound too optimistic for this night.
The way he walked off the field
into the lineup.
I'd be surprised the way he walked off the field.
Now Kelvin Anderson will sit on a play or two, so Kopp really has few options left. And he got it away. They call it an incomplete pass.
All kinds of confusion for the Calgary offense. First of all, it looked like Edmonton rushed 3 or maybe just 4 on the play, a delayed rush, and then you've got receivers all bunched up for Calgary. Now, if they line up bunched, it's one thing. If they end up bunched, it's a problem. And see, that is a problem right there. That is not by design. One of those receivers has got to get into the open area. See, one defender, Jerome Peterson, can cover 2 Calgary receivers.
Martino sails it down to the 5. Henry Williams is cornered, and there's nowhere to go. Jason Clement made the tackle. 4 yards on the return for the Giz. But he's over another milestone in his wonderful career. They're standing to cheer Gizmo. He's over 11,000 in career punt return yardage. So a standing O for one of the nicest guys around the game, and a guy who's really had a wonderful run in green and gold.
11,000 yards in punt returns. Man.
Nealon Green, first down Edmonton. Stamps have the receivers covered, but they can't get to Green. And Williams makes the catch out at the 35. It's an evening that is forgettable for the Stampeders on Commonwealth turf. Davis was covering. They had all the receivers covered, and somehow or other, Nealon bought a little time and made the play.
Bought a little time was being run down by Joe Fleming. Fleming very close to a late hit call. There was no flag on the play, so play stands, but Nealon Green bought himself some time with his legs.
18 yards. The gain on the play. Nice fake. Goes for Corby. And Kes McCorvey is stopped by Greg Frères.
Third quarter, Eskimos 24, Stampeders 7.
The Eskimos won on Monday, and they're winning the battle straight up here tonight. Kopp can't get the Stampeders rolling quite yet. However, there is a quarter to go on Adidas Friday Night Football. Oh. See? I knew he'd start talking there, so he's just a question. Put the camera on.
October, you good, baby, but you got 11,000 yards to catch.
11,000. Hear what he said? Winston October, the great returner for the Montreal Alouettes, said, Winston October, you're good, but you got about 11,000 yards to catch me.
Nothing if not a confident guy. Another Eskimo first down, Kes McCorvey. And it was Anthony Pryor who finally got to make the stop on McCorvey.
Football's really a game of angles, and if you can get the angle on a defensive back, Kes McCorvey, a great route runner, gets inside position, gives a great target for his quarterback. Boy, he can really shake and bake, Kes McCorvey.
Yeah. Nealon Green. Complete. But unfortunately, the player was standing on the Eskimo bench. Couple of turnovers by the Stampeders, costing 7 points at least.
Well, they've moved the ball a little bit in the second half, a little bit more successfully, but they can't finish drives and they can't finish plays. A couple of drops here and there. The third quarter, drops by Vince Danielson. Drops down the field. They've lost Travis Moore. An ankle injury. It's an uphill battle from here on in.
It is. 2nd and 10. No one home. Walters was the intended receiver, and Green missed him by a lot.
Well, what happened was Ricky Walters ran sort of what Kes McCorvey ran when he caught that little slant pattern on Anthony Pryor. But see, Ricky Walters is pointing to himself. He said, that was my mistake. He wasn't supposed to go so far into the middle. He was supposed to go straight down the seam. It's what Don Matthews calls the dotted routes. There's pass routes, right, where you're just going down the field. You know where you got to go down 10 yards and then turn hard to the right or left. That's a pass route. The dotted route is when you have to make the decision on the run. Maybe you turn left, maybe you turn right. Don Matthews doesn't like dotted routes.
No. Stampeders lost it, and I think they have. It's one of those nights. Wally Buono won't remember well. Jed Roberts comes up with the fumble. So Roberts will take one to the bench with him. It's already 24-7. Calgary has turned it over 3 times so far. Marvin Coleman has done it twice himself.
You know, returners work in tandem. See Aubrey Cummings right there? He's normally not on the return team. Usually that's Travis Moore, and one injury can really affect so many phases of the game. When those guys are working in tandem, Marvin Coleman doesn't know how Aubrey Cummings is going to play it. He flashed in front of him. I think it distracted him, and that's why he dropped the football.
Here's Mark Nora, and the Stampeders have him surrounded. Tough, too, for Coleman now standing out there on the field in a situation that would absolutely put this game out of reach for the Stampeders after handing the ball over to the Eskimos, and he's playing out there on the corner.
Well, the first one, he was stripped from Craig Carr, and that happens. But the second one, it looked like when Aubrey Cummings distracted him, he put the ball in the turf, and he would dearly love to come up with a big play right now.
Well, this is the time for Coleman.
Might get a chance.
To the end zone for Vaughn. Touchdown, Terry Vaughn.
Now this is the new dance the Edmonton receivers have. What they do is the guy who scores the touchdown poses while the other receivers kind of kneel around and pretending they're photographers taking pictures of them. And they change it up a little bit every single week. But they're having fun, and they're entertaining a huge crowd at Commonwealth, and I love it.
Nealon Green to Terry Vaughn. 15-yard touchdown. 2 plays after, the Stampeders handed it right back to Edmonton. It's almost a full house at Commonwealth in Edmonton, and they're loving it. Terry Vaughn celebrating another touchdown. And check out the score. It's 31-7 on Adidas Friday Night Football. Terry Vaughn wasn't very busy on Monday in Calgary, but he's had a nice night here tonight as his 3rd touchdown reception of the year.
Do not want to sit on the ball.
You hear that? They don't want to sit on the ball. He just said, let's blow them out.
Well,
they don't like
Stampeder.
Yeah, they don't like each other.
Kelvin Anderson is back returning kickoffs now. And his return gets out to the 35, 12:22 to play in the final quarter.
He's working one-on-one against the safety, Greg Frères, who had to slide over. Usually Eric Sutton would be covering, and he makes a great inside move with his shoulders. Frères tries to grab him. He recovers fairly well, but Terry Vaughn keeps concentration on the football and comes up with a big touchdown catch.
Excellent effort for Terry Vaughn.
And he tried to grab me. That's who's saying. He tried to grab me. He can't grab me.
31-7, the Stampeders are in big trouble in Commonwealth. Bo Richter stumbled after he made the catch, lost his footing. Stampeders, hot start to the new season, unbeaten through 6 weeks, and all of a sudden the wheels have come off for Wally Buono and company, and Calgary is on the verge of losing 3 in a row. Perhaps more importantly, turning over top spot to their rivals to the north. The Eskimos win tonight. They're in first place.
Oh!
Cummings made the catch and took a hit.
Boy, did he ever.
Garrett was there, and so was Terry Ray.
Shannon Garrett back in the lineup. Had a tryout with the New Orleans Saints. It didn't work out, and they've been trying to sign Shannon Garrett. He's just here since Tuesday. way to get a feel back. Took him to the fourth quarter to get a nice lick in.
Cobb almost intercepted.
Oh.
It was Mobley.
Oh, and he is in the end zone. And that would have been back-to-back interceptions for touchdowns for Singor Mobley, because there is no one that is going to catch Mobley if he can hang on to this football. He's going to be over here at this side of your screen. Watch. Kopp almost throws it right to him. Well, he does throw it to him. He just can't hang on. Look at this. And if he catches that, there's about 70 yards in front of him or 50 yards in front of him that no one is going to catch him.
On Monday, he took one back 44 yards. 2nd and 10, Stampeders. Short of the first down. On 2nd and 10, it's Boerichter making the catch. And the Eskimos aren't leaving very much for Calgary receivers, are they?
Well, no, and now they can sit back and let the Calgary Stampeders throw it underneath and just come up and make the tackle. Wally Buono's got a few things to look at when he gets back in Calgary after this game. Number one, the injury situation. He's got to find out about Travis Moore, whether or not he'll get him back next week. Dave Dickinson practiced last couple of days of this short week. And then, of course, Eric Sutton, and whether or not he'll be able to come and return this season.
Henry Williams. The Giz takes off from near the 20. There's a little of the old flash. Is he still in bounds? I don't think so. "22 yards as he danced up the sideline.
There's 50,000 plus crowd here. I mean, it's a chance to see one of the all-time greats. And I'm talking about in football. I don't care what league. This guy returned punts better than anybody. I don't care what league you're talking about.
4 pages on the Giz in the Edmonton Eskimo media guide. Where do you want me to start?
Well,
26 punt return touchdowns, 2 kickoff return touchdowns.
And you know what? He's got it memorized. He'll tell you all the stats.
Nora is held for little or no gain and grabbed there by Darrell Hall. (1987) 4 punt return touchdowns for Henry Williams.
You know, 14 years in the league, and before the game, you know what Henry Williams was doing? He was jogging up and down the stadium stairs to get ready and warm up.
Oh, he's in wonderful physical shape. There's no question about that. And he watches Winston October and says, "Yeah, you're not there yet."
But he
Mr.
does.
October.
He does enjoy and think, you know, he's a good football player and a good returner. He's got a ways to go.
Yeah, Nigel Williams grabbed by Coleman.
Well, how about these Edmonton Eskimos?
Well, this is 7 wins in 8 games. If we concede it with 8:49 to go, and that may be a little premature on my part.
Well,
31-7 if they hang on.
They hang on. I mean, that they are on a roll in a big way. 6 wins in the last 7 games. They can hold on and be 7 of 8. Defense is really coming along. Brad Miller have got that defense playing very well, and the rest of that staff, and 25 takeaways tells you that story. You're getting close to 4 a game. It's awful tough to win when you're giving up the ball 4 times a game.
Yeah, 3 takeaways so far tonight. And this isn't a thing of beauty for Sean Fleming, although he gets the roll on it. And Coleman held on to that one for a 3-yard return. So, did you really want to know if the Eskimos are back? They are, folks. Solid on Monday at McMahon in Calgary, and terrific again on a home turf here tonight.
Tonight, yeah.
And just looking at the score, it's 31-7.
And you've got your backup quarterback running the show.
And nothing has gone right. Absolutely nothing for the Stampeders. First down, Calgary.
Oh,
yeah. Now, just prior to this, Fred Childress took an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, and now there's some movement down there on the right side of that Stampeder offensive line. It might have been Thomas Ram.
Illegal procedure. Calgary 58, still first down.
Oh, yeah, it was Thomas Ram, and he went about 2 snap counts early because he had to get across the field to block for what looked like was going to be a running play to Calvin Anderson. And Calgary Stampeders, the most penalized team in the Canadian Football League.
100 yards. It's cost them tonight. 7:57 on the scoreboard clock at Commonwealth. Calvin Anderson has run well. This is another nice run. 8 yards. He's over 100 already.
Yeah, and Don Matthews always said that at the end of a game, you're like an artist with a painting. At the end of the game, do you feel confident about signing your painting? And I think Calvin Anderson, despite this loss for Calgary, can sign his painting. He can sign it. He can be confident that 124 yards, he did his job every time he was asked to do something with the football. He did something. Now, the rest of the team may not be able to sign their painting.
No, you might be right.
And that offensive line may not be able to sign their painting. But most of the time when you go back and you look at the game film, it never looks as good as you thought it was in a win, and it never looks as bad as you thought it was in a loss. But
well, this one isn't going to be fun to watch at McMahon.
Offside.
No.
Edmonton 96, still second down.
But Wally Buono said it yesterday in the press conference when he said, you know what, sometimes when you're winning, mistakes that are happening are camouflaged. And there's still mistakes going on. You try and work them out, but sometimes they're camouflaged and you may not pay enough attention to them. Well, those mistakes are surfacing for the Calgary Stampeders.
Plus other misfortunes like going without your starting quarterback. Calvin Anderson has run well tonight, but he was in the doghouse after the game on Monday for comments he made to the media.
Well, you know, and in fairness to Calvin Anderson, and it's sort of uncharacteristic that Calvin Anderson would speak up in the media and show his frustration in the media, but he went through a real tough week. He lost his grandmother and a woman who raised him, and it was a tough week for him.
Kopp on first down. Eskimos had a shot at that as the ball was deflected at the line.
So Calvin Anderson did not get the start last week, or excuse me, on Monday, and Rock Preston did. So it was a frustrating week and a tough week all around for Calvin Anderson. He spoke up in the media, but he's backed it up with 132 yards rushing here this evening.
Yeah, and he has been the Calgary offense. We haven't seen Alan Pitts have a good night. Travis Moore out with an injury. Big catch, though, for Travis Moore earlier. Calvin Anderson made the catch that time. Grant Carter made the tackle.
He has been the only positive sign for the Calgary Stampeders offensively, whether it be catching the football or running it.
Yeah, he said, "Give me the ball." And that headline in the newspaper in Calgary. He got the ball tonight.
You know, and if the Calgary Stampeders don't get behind on a couple of special teams plays and a couple of miscues, you know, Calvin Anderson likely makes a big difference. That was the newspaper headline, "Give me the ball." Frustration from Calvin Anderson, something that Wally Buono throughout the 90s has not had to worry about. Players speaking up in the newspaper.
4 straight 1,000-yard seasons for Calvin Anderson. So he's a guy who should get the ball fairly frequently. That's Aubrey Cummings making the catch, and it's only good for a couple of yards. Shannon Garrett in his first game back over to make the tackle.
But hey, give a ton of credit to this Edmonton football team. It is so hard to beat the same team twice in back-to-back affairs, and especially when you have 98 hours to prepare the second time around.
Kopp.
It's just human nature to have a letdown in that second game when you're coming off a big one, especially with emotions running so as high as they do on Labor Day. The Edmonton Eskimos went into McMahon Stadium knocked off a very good football team, even though they had their backup quarterback started for Calgary Stampeders, and then come back here in Commonwealth and do it again.
Major foul, face mask, Edmonton 38, first down.
Call is on Ralph Staten.
It's very difficult to sweep this series. It's very difficult to sweep any series. Last time Edmonton did it was 1990. Went to the Grey Cup that year.
Calgary has done it in 95 and 98.
And went to the Grey Cup both those years.
Yeah.
And won it in 98.
No one home there. Alan Pitts was the intended receiver.
You know, and I think that the two players that the fans here in Edmonton are most pumped up about are Singor Mobley and Terry Ray on defense. Tremendous playmakers.
Both have been dominating again tonight.
Singor Mobley in charge of a lot of the pass coverage responsibilities. Terry Ray, who's emerged as not only a great hitter, but a leader in the huddle and in the locker room.
Stampeders on 2nd and 10. And behind the intended target that time, Eric Edwards was covering on Cummings.
But just take a look at the seasons that Singor Mobley and Terry Ray are putting together in that linebacking core. I mean, Terry Ray has knocked some people flat out with big hits. Has 46 tackles. That leads the Eskimos. Singor Mobley right behind him in second place with 34, and of course the 2 touchdowns. He's also contributed on special teams with a bunch of kick and punt returns.
So now the Stampeders are down to 3rd and 10. Trailing 31-7. And there's not much else they can do but try and find a little something to happen on this play. And it's not going to. Kopp is rolled over at the 42. Steve Anderson.
Well, I know Troy Kopp does not want to throw any more interceptions. He has 9 in limited playing time, but at this point in the game, you got to just take some chances. And even if your guys are covered downfield, let it go. Just let it go, because at this point in the game, an interception is really irrelevant. You just throw it down and see if you can make something happen. Maybe get an interference call or something. Take some chances at that point. Troy Kopp's got a ways to go in his development. Dave Dickinson should be back next week for Calgary.
Meantime, it's been all Edmonton. Mark Nora running against a tired Stampeder defense now. 143 yards for Nora on Monday.
You know, and we've talked about Alan Pitts not getting the football. 0 catches today, and you're wondering why the greatest receiver in CFL history is not getting the football. Well, sometimes you're having a bad day, and sometimes your quarterback can't find you. You see Pitts is open there, and Pitts is open here. And Pitts is kind of a lonely guy out there. Not only is he not seeing any coverage, and he's getting open, but he's not seeing the football, and he's over there talking to the quarterback saying, man, I am wide open out there. You got to look for me. Number 18. I'll show you the program, because in the program it shows how many yards and touchdowns I have and all that.
Yeah, CFL records.
CFL records. And
yeah.
Why don't you maybe read the program, and then you'll look for number 18 more often.
Well, and again last week it was Pitts with only 2 catches for 27 yards with number 16 Kopp at quarterback.
You know, and Pitts, you could see him trying to encourage his quarterback as well, patting him on the shoulder and say, hey, don't worry about it. It's not easy. And, you know, there were some injuries that were also a factor. And to be quite honest with you, I'm surprised at how, not poorly, they haven't been just all out bad. And I'm sure the game film will reflect that. But this offensive line has played a lot better and did in the first 7 games of the regular season in Calgary.
Alan Pitts trying to figure it out. Wally Buono will get it straightened around, but not this night. Edmonton first down. Nealon Green is still in there.
Oh, well, Jack Kellogg The radar's hit right on Kes McCord, or Ed Hervey, excuse me, or else he might have had an interception. But, hey, full credit to the Edmonton Eskimos. What a game. Well, back-to-back games they have put together. Very difficult situation whenever you go to Calgary on Labor Day, and Don Matthews had his team ready to play. A great defensive game plan against a very inexperienced quarterback. But it wasn't just how they confused Kopp in that game. It was also how they confused an offensive line that are veterans, running backs that are veterans, and blocking schemes, and a receiving corps. So Brad Miller's game plan once again tonight in the rematch was top drawer.
Yeah, it was right on, bang on. And they put together a pretty good group as far as the Edmonton Eskimos on defense are concerned. Coleman is back again. This one is sky high. Marvin Coleman has dropped a couple tonight on returns, and a decent return there as he gets out near the 50. Mobley again leading the tacklers on a 20-yard return. So the Eskimos are 2:37 away from sweeping the September Battle of Alberta. Well, who's counting the seconds more closely here, Wally or Don? 2:37 to go. Let's get out of here.
Wally said, go warm up the bus and let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here. Never liked this place anyway. Stampeders have not lost 3 in a row since 1997. Kopp stands in, has Anderson, and a big collision as Anderson ran into Shannon Garrett.
Usually the game ball goes to a player that makes the big play. Well, this Edmonton defense, led by Singor Mobley, played so well as a team. Let's give the game ball to the entire defense.
Not bad. 10 turnovers in 2 games. 2 big games.
That is amazing. 10 turnovers.
There's a nice pass, and Alan Pitts finally has one. First catch of the night for Alan Pitts.
See, they had that chat on the sideline, and Alan Pitts reminded him of the records and said, you might want to look my way. But it's a little too late.
Yeah, too little too late is what we're
too
trying
little,
to say. I see.
Too late.
Yeah. There you go. Eskimos have not been in first place in the CFL West since 1997. They're there tonight. A point ahead of the Calgary Stampeders with this victory.
The first time all season that Calgary hasn't been in first place.
You're right. Kopp just got hammered from behind. Yeah, Mobley again, 27. Nice number, that 27.
Wow, he's a player. He is a player. And that's what, when coaches talk about guys, that's what they say when they're that good. They just say, that guy is a player. He's a playmaker. And that's his second sack on the year, I believe.
Yep.
To go along with 3 interceptions, couple touchdowns, some big returns.
3 fumble recoveries.
Wow. He's around the football.
2nd and 22. And Kopp is off the mark again.
And Mobley is right there. Mobley is right there.
He's everywhere. He's everywhere Troy Kopp wants to go.
You know, and sometimes you can't coach that. Sometimes it's just instinct. You know, you wonder why one player's head over heels better than some other players, and it's because, you know, you drop the same spot, you go to the same area on the field, and then you just have a nose for the football. You just have uncanny instincts and an ability to find the ball and get there in a hurry, and Singor Mobley is that kind of player. Well, McLaughlin will try a longer field goal. The points important when they add it all up, if in fact there's a tie at the end of the year. Calgary does not want to lay down, even though there's not much chance they can win.
No, they're in a little trouble here now of catching the Eskimos. McLaughlin is on the money because this would be game 3 of the season series. Calgary won the opener. Edmonton has come back and won 2 in a row.
They play again on October 15th back here in Edmonton.
So points could come into that if Calgary should rebound and win the game. It could come down to how many points scored over the season with first place on the line.
That's right.
Well, we give Edmonton the win, and this is what the West Division standings look like. 14-13. Edmonton in first place, as we said, for the first time since 1997.
When BC and Saskatchewan play, they'll play tomorrow. That'll be an interesting game with Saskatchewan right on the Lions' heels. Couple wins for Saskatchewan in a row. So.
Yeah, Toronto and Winnipeg tomorrow as well. And who starts at quarterback for the Argos? Have you heard?
I believe it's Kerwin Bell.
Yeah.
Kerwin Bell
goes back to Winnipeg, so Bomber fans.
Oh, how much would he like a big game?
Oh, yeah. Bomber fans can rally around and cheer against him.
I mean, how much would he like to have a big game in that one? Released by
the Bombers. 10 days later, he's starting for the Argos. Nora hasn't had the same kind of game.
And Wally Guano calls a timeout, just thinking strictly about points. Whether or not he may get another crack with the football and try and get some more points. And this isn't good news for the Edmonton Eskimos. That's big Bruce Beaton limping off the field. And that's also as a result of the 98 hours in between these games. And, you know, it's a great rivalry for the fans, and it's great for us in the media and to create hype around Labor Day and then the rematch here in Edmonton. But it is very tough physically for the players. It just 98 hours to brush off all the bumps and bruises from Labor Day and get back out here and play again. And that's when you're tired and fatigue sets in, that's when injuries occur.
Long bus ride home for the Stampeders.
Well, it hurts more for them because they lost.
Lots of ice on board the Greyhound tonight. I guess that's just as well for Coleman. Here's what we suggested you watch for in this one tonight. We were right for the Stampeders off the top. Get it to Anderson.
Well,
he ran well.
We knew they would, and he did run well. Air it out. Green threw a little bit more effectively, and again, did not hurt the team with interceptions, more importantly, and that fatigue factor, well, really kicked in the second half for Calgary. They lost Travis Moore to injury, and we mentioned that when you get tired, that's when injuries occur.
51 seconds remaining. Copp stands in, and that one was high and outside. And Bo Richter came up with it as it went over the head of one of the Stampeder receivers. Bo Richter right in front of the Eskimo bench.
Well, the next week, the Edmonton Eskimos will play against the BC Lions.
That's a big game, too.
Absolutely.
Also this week, Sunday, it's Hamilton and Montreal. And that's another first-place showdown in the other division. Alan Pitts, second catch, turns it into a first down.
Now, these Edmonton Eskimos really have control of this Western Division now. With these two wins against Calgary, obviously have the upper hand. We mentioned they play again in October, but with a win against BC next week, they can really bump them out of the running for first place and eliminate their chances pretty well.
Copp is hammered again. Ball comes loose. Stampeders trying to come up with it. Mobley.
Can't believe
almost had it.
But he's right there. You know, you got to understand those big offensive linemen not being able to pick it up. Glenn Scrivener comes up with it. But Mobley's everywhere. He is absolutely everywhere. When they're throwing the ball deep, somehow he's back there in pass coverage. He started out in coverage. The ball went down, and look at how he sniffs it out. See, he knows in there, and all he has to do is pick it up. He wanted to pick it up and run for the touchdown. That's what he wanted to do. If he just falls on that, he's got another fumble recovery.
Yeah, Glenn Scribner comes up with that one. Calgary has turned it over 5 times again. Well, there were 6 turnovers last week. 5 were interceptions.
Well, when we gave the defense the game ball, we said 10 turnovers. We got to add 1. 11 turnovers in 2 games.
Glenn Scribner had a great week. On Monday, a couple of sacks. And tonight he finishes up with a fumble recovery that'll take all the wind out of the sails of the Calgary Stampeders.
And what a week that the Calgary Stampeders have had in back-to-back weeks. They're beat up physically, beat up emotionally, and next week they have to play the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Yeah. It won't get easier if they don't get some of these injured players back into the lineup, most notably the quarterback, Dave Dickinson. One of those nights for Wally Buono, but the fireworks in Edmonton is celebrating the Eskimos' victory. Make that 2 in a row over the Calgary Stampeders. They'll meet down the road again October 15th, and they won't like each other any more than they liked each other tonight.